So we're going to dive into general pruning expectations, fruit trees and ornamental trees. Might hit a little bit more on the fruit trees, I suspect. Is that what most people are looking, fruit trees? Yes? Okay, that's what I thought. All right. I walked in my garden yesterday and I saw some things popping up. The Helleborus is up. My rhubarb is just coming out of the ground. But most of the trees are still holding their buds together. So I'm hopeful. I have spent time in other countries, especially Kenya, teaching pruning, planting trees, doing missionary work there. This truck I was behind one day, this is the government of Kenya forestry truck. Trees are for better lives, and the trees are better for our lives. We're going to cover these topics: pruning, reasons, timing, tools, and techniques. So what is pruning? Well, you could select a few branches here and there for a specific reason. Shoots and branches is what we're going to be pruning off. Sometimes their roots are involved. Roots are important. Flower buds. From flower buds, what do you get? Your fruit, your flowers, the beauty of the tree, the fruit of the tree. Sometimes what you're actually doing to a tree is you're damaging the tree, you're wounding the tree. So you need to be thinking about, okay, if we wound ourselves, okay, what do we do? How does the tree does take care of itself. The tree does actually cover over a branch or a wound with callus wood. So it does take care of. Animals heal, trees seal. So keep that in mind. I do like my cartoons, close to be putting those clothes back on, right? And Leroy, he has his idea of what pruning trees are. His bag of prunes is, yeah, right. And yes, Hagar likes, he chops into the tree, and yes, the tree feels it. They've actually proven that the tree at 200 hertz talks to each other. Like in the Lord of the Rings, the trees are talking to each other. Well, trees really, they've proven it at very low speeds. And yes, trees provide us oxygen, so we need to care for them. So who can prune? Well, somebody up in big trees, but you can. Don't be shy. Go for it. You might make mistakes, but mistakes can be rectified over time. But if you're not sure, hire a contractor. Hire somebody that is with credentials. I recommend the ISA, International Society of Arboriculture, certified arborist. He should know if he's topping a tree or doing something wrong, then he's accountable to the society. So why do we prune? Well, we can go and make a bunch of cuts and make a big pile on the ground. Okay, I pruned, done. Why? Well, most of the time we want to improve the appearance, and we're also looking after the health of a tree. Sometimes we have to establish a top and what's below, what we can see and what is below in the roots. Injuries. Wind comes along, branch breaks, there's an injury. Or somebody comes along, they think, you have a child that's crawling up in the tree, enjoying the tree, and a branch breaks. Well, it needs to be pruned. Sometimes we have insects and diseases. We have this. I don't know if you'll see this in a lot of the prunus, the cherries. This is black knot. This is a disease. This is what you do. You prune it out. Fall webworm comes in about late July, early August. You see the big nests up inside of a tree. Pruning it out is the best biological way of dealing with that insect. For fruit trees, we want to get light into the center of the tree. We want to help that with the leaves. We want that with ripening the fruit. When you're walking under a tree in the summer and you see the sunlight that's coming through and you're in the shade of the tree, you're enjoying the shade, but there's no real light coming through, you want some dappling on the ground, some light coming through. You want light hitting all the leaves. So opening up, thinning out some branches is good to do. Roots. Roots have a tendency to do their own thing. This particular root, you can see it's circling or girdling the tree. It's strangling the tree. It's actually going to start causing some damage up inside the tree, some death. It may not be an insect up in the tree. It's probably a root. It could be at the surface, it could be below the soil, but it's girdling the tree. Take it out and you'll improve the health of the tree. I have done it so many times. It's amazing. By taking out a girdling root, it helps. Unfortunately, a lot of our potted rootstock causes some girdling of roots. And here's the roots removed. Removing that root is not going to hurt that tree. It's going to improve the life of the tree. We have spruce trees. Sometimes they have multiple tops on top. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 tops in there. Spruce trees like what? 1 liter. So you need to prune out those multiple tops to a single liter. Or we have big trees. This is a big birch tree, big branch. That branch is about 2, maybe 3 inches in diameter. It has the potential of killing somebody. That type of branch, if it fell and somebody was underneath it, has potential. Need to get up there and prune it out. Now here, can you see? See something different? 2 trees, yes, but it's all in 1 tree. This is what you brought. Variegated maple, green. The tree is reverting from what you bought, the variegation, to a solid green. In order to save that tree from it converting completely back to green is pruning out that solid green. It means you have to crawl up in the tree and look, or you step back and look. Sometimes the variegations, the solid green's gone too far and it's hard to bring the tree back. But you can save it from reverting by taking out those solid green branches. Sometimes we need to balance between the flowering and the fruiting. So we need to take out some branches so that you can increase the size of the fruit by pruning. And you also need to stimulate by pruning, especially on peaches. To get that new growth for next year, for the fruit of the next year, you need to be doing a little harder pruning on peach trees. Older trees, that's another whole, I could do a whole 2-hour course on renovation trees. And I would really like to take you out and do a tree with you. But renovating old trees, that's a process that will take 3, maybe 5, well, okay. My pear tree that I inherited when I moved here took me 15 years to get the way I wanted it. And it was horrible. And another specialty is young trees. So you buy a tree and you plant it in the ground. Oh, how long does it take for a child before they leave home? Maybe 20 years? Well, guess what? That's how long it's going to take a tree to be trained before it is a mature, good-looking tree. So from about the second year you've planted in the ground to about 20 years, you're looking at that tree and trying to decide how you're going to work it. That's another whole hour course. Because you're after structure, training up the way the child should go, training up the way a plant should grow, a tree should grow. And You want to prune when you have, branches that are come down low, that are eye pokers, branches that are getting close to a building. You want to prune it away. So proper pruning. Timing and hardiness. You asked the question, right? Conditions, length of day. Actually, when it actually comes out in flower and blooms. And where, especially on fruit trees, where do those flowers come out? But if anything, immediately when you see it, I call it the 3Ds. Dead, diseased, and damaged. Whenever you see it, take care of it. Because the damage is there. Dead is doing nothing for the tree. And if it's diseased, well, you want to get rid of it. Because you don't want it to move on to another plant. So, when? Right now. Great time. Things are getting a little longer. Where I live in Westmount, from my dining room window, I look out and I see Peter and Paul, and the sun moves either side of Peter and Paul. It came up between the two peaks just the other day. Okay, because it was way over. It's great, right? So just prior to bud swell is a good time to be pruning trees. Most everything. There are some exceptions. We'll get to the exceptions. This is the best time for fruit trees, roses, broadleaf evergreens, vines, summer flowering shrubs. Over pruning, taking too much, is cause a lot of what we call rapid vegetative growth, water sprout growth. On fruit trees, it looks like this. This is a maple tree. This branch here to there is last year's growth. That is a water sprout. And what's happening? We'll get to it. But you've asked, I'll ask it now. What is happening? Your root system is full of energy. The root system of the tree is full of energy. It's waiting for spring to happen, and the nutrients are going to start moving up into the tree. And if you've pruned off a branch, the nutrients that were up in the tree have moved into the root for the winter. It's going to come up looking for that branch. If it can't find that branch, it's going to push it into something else. It can't go back. It just keeps on going into latent or adventitious buds. And that's where you get all that water sprout growth, because that root has to move that energy up. Now, there will be some energy left in the root system in case something happens to the tree, because the tree knows how to take care of itself. But by taking off too much, you get water sprout growth. You want to frame a tree. More important, you want to know what you have. Know the species. Is it ornamental? Is it a fruit? Because they are two different mindsets. When I walk onto a property, okay, fruit tree, yes, I work that way. Ornamental tree, this way. You have to know what you have. So this is from my kitchen window. Looking at my neighbors. Sorry, Tim. But that's his. I get that. No one. Look, you can see the water sprout growth. And I want to just go over and help him, but he's rather independent. You can see right there, there's a little nub. There was a branch. And there is the water sprout growth that came right behind that branch. So taking off that bigger branch, nutrients were coming up, looking for that branch, threw it into that water sprout. This is not pruning. Yes, it is. This is not good pruning. Someone has left big stubs. When to prune? Avoid. When the buds are starting to come out and they're starting to be green until they're fully developed. So the buds break, they're starting to show green, stop pruning. When the leaf is full, you can start pruning. So that's, for camellids, about early to mid-April to about mid-June, I shut down my pruning, unless it's 3Ds, dead, disease, or damage, or there's something drastic. But the tree is going through a physiological change. Nutrients are coming up. You're looking for the bark is expanding. If you were to go and you start pruning, you can actually start ripping bark, causing bigger wounds. So just leave it alone. Then you could probably start pruning in the summer. Or also avoid September, mid-September to about mid-November, mid-late November, and start pruning again. Summer pruning, yes, when the leaves are fully developed and out. This is the best time, especially mid-June to mid-July. The tree actually is going through a rest period. It's nothing really is going on. There's really not a whole lot of movement of sap going up and down. There's water moving up for the tree. It's just best to, this is when the bleeders, I don't know if you've had bleeders, you pruned a maple and you'll see the sap start running. Well, that's a bleeder. So birch, maples, chestnut, walnuts, and some magnolias, mulberries will start bleeding and make a mess. So the drips actually will make a mess on the deck or on the car, on the driveway. Leave it alone and do it in June. It's actually sometimes a good time to what we call double pruning. Pruning in the summer, taking some more of those water sprouts out, especially if you have something like this. You could take some of these out, and in the summer take a little bit more, because you can, it's called double pruning. So you're reducing the size of the plant twice in a year. A good way of doing it. Water sprouts, especially in the summer, a little fast, rapid growth, and it's usually the short stuff. That's easy. You take a gloved hand, or if your hands are tough, you can knock them off with your hand quite easily, and they break where they're supposed to break, what we call the branch ridge collar, which we'll get to. Autumn, not the best time to be doing it. Again, the tree's going through a physiological change. The leaves are falling. Leave it alone. Wait till mid-November. Now, this is what I use, but on the back of the one page there is a calendar for, this is Art Knapp special. This is I have to acknowledge the Alberta Horticulture Association. I took my diploma in horticulture at Olds College in Alberta. So I have to acknowledge Alberta Horticulture Association. Little diagram, but someone very attractively made this Art Knapp's calendar. It's very similar, but I have an even better picture. Here we go. Green for go, red for stop. So December till about April for us here in Kamloops to prune, stop pruning, May, June into June, go for the summer, and then mid-September to November, stop pruning. Unless, what? The 3 Ds. Wow, you're listening. Very good. And hardiness zones. Everybody know what hardiness zones are about? Cold hardiness. We haven't had a lot of cold this winter, have we? I think the coldest got was -20 in the valley. I don't know about the Aberdeen. Too bad Aberdeen. Down east, they got cold. So in the valley, we go with a zone 6. I'm confident in a zone 6 in the valley. And Aberdeen, they say zone 3. Well, I'd say you could probably push a 4 now. The way things are going. So, and the city of Kamloops has this beautiful picture of the different zones. Orange for the valley and green. It should be actually the reverse, right? Green for go and the Agriculture Canada, Environment Canada has issued a new hardiness zone map for Canada, and it just came out, I think, in the last year or so. I have not really studied it. So, know your hardiness zones so you can grow properly. If you put the wrong tree in the wrong place, you're going to get death much sooner. We actually had that deep cold, what, 2 winters ago? We had the heat dome, and then we had a cold. Took out my cherry tree, cooked the cherries on the tree, and then wiped out the tree. So I have to restart, and I'm going to put a plum in instead of a cherry. Anyways, know your hardiness zones. And I live in the valley. Tools. Tools of the trade. Well, there are lots of tools out there. We're going to talk about some methods, the process, different tools. These are my tools. This is what I use. I carry them on my belt. I can jump into a tree. I have a pair of sucketeers, hand pruners. I have a handsaw. These are my pistol and shotgun, right? No. These are very important. Bypass pruners, what I use. I'm not sure what anvil pruners do. They seem to crush the branches. They say it's good for the roses. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. Hedge pruners for hedges. Handsaw for bigger branches. Loppers. Okay. Oh, commercial. These are on sale. They're somewhere over there. $50. I think they're on for 30 or something. I don't know. But I like wooden handles. I work with wood, so I like wooden handles. This is not a tool for trees. This is a tool for cleanup and shrubs. You get in, you can't get a nice clean cut with these loppers because you're too far away. And then there's this tool here, pole pruner. Not ideal tool to be using up in a tree, but if you have to, you have to. And you always try and imagine where the cut is. Unfortunately, it's, because you're way out and you're trying to make a cut, it's hard to make a proper cut. And we're going to get the proper cuts. Pole lopper. Good. So choosing your tools, your hand pruner is probably up to about 3/4 of an inch. You know, I can probably do 3/4 of an inch. And there's a whole variety of different size of hand pruners out there. One with rotating handles, one with left-handed, one with a smaller top. This is a Felco 2. I have been using Felco 2 my whole career. It is a high-end product. I can take this apart, I can clean it up, and I can put it back together like in 15 minutes and be working again. I still have my second one. My first one someone stole in my truck. I still have my second one, like 39 years ago now. So it's a good tool. This one is on sale. It's found. It's not a bad tool, for 20 bucks. Actually, I think it's on for 10, right? Yes, it's on for 10. And the Corona. So this is low end, next end, and then Felco is the high end. The Corona is actually this is actually a pretty good one. I've worked with this. I can take it apart and put it together in like 15 minutes. Loppers, yes, these loppers could do up to 1.5 2 inches, depending on how strong you are. I like wooden handles. It means if they break, I can replace them. Whereas usually you can't find, with the metal handles, you can't find a replacement, in my experience. Pruning saw. Oh, an inch to, I can probably, with this handsaw, the Corona, I can usually get up to about a 4-inch hand branch. Pretty good with this. Anything bigger than that, you use, a chainsaw. Maintenance of a tool, very important. So when you go to see a surgeon, you hope that his tool is sharp. So what are you doing to a tree? You're more or less a surgeon on the tree, so you want to make sure your tools are sharp, because a sharp tool makes good clean cuts and makes life a lot easier. You're not working so hard to get, especially with a dull tool. So there we go. So Malfalco, I can take this all apart like it's so easy. It's probably around worth $100, but it's worth it. My first one was 35, so. And I used to take a stone, and I used to take it all apart, and with a stone, there's a specific way of sharpening it. When I found this tool about 6 or 7 years ago, I was amazed. It's got embedded tungsten and diamond in the tip here. So just by taking 5 strokes, more or less, on that side, and a bit on this side to take the burr off, like that is sharp enough that will do what I almost tried to do. If you can see the scar, take off the tip of my finger. And remember, there's always 2 sides to this. And just a nice cleanup. This is amazing. If you hit a wire or you hit a soil, you'll dull it. And then you get out your fine 6-inch file and you take it all apart and you very carefully try and get that little nick out. Unfortunately, this is not the best thing for this tool. It is a good tool for sharpening this. But I also, once I do this, I do this. And then, I use a 6-inch fine. Yeah. Yeah. But before I actually do that, I take this, I think this is number 600. Or 1200, 600. Very fine sandpaper, and as you prune, you'll get some guck, some sap. Oh, sorry. A little moisture, and just gently rubbing, taking off all it actually comes up really, really good. So some very fine sandpaper with a little bit of moisture. Then, very important, within your property, and when I enter a property, I use a cleaning solution, a disinfectant solution to clean my tools before I touch anything, because you can move diseases, especially from one plant to another plant. So I used to use Lysol or Pine Sol or Mr. Clean, Dettol, whatever, and I've gone from that to Simply Green concentrate. It's a green product that you can find at most any grocery store or hardware store. But it's very simple to do. Very simple cleaning. Cleaning and just a little wipe off. Sometimes I add a little oil on top of that just to make sure things are going. On my Falcos, I actually put some lithium grease in between the 2 pieces to make things work easier. Or bleach. But I tried bleach once, and bleach, because it's a 10% solution of bleach, by the end of the day, my tools are starting to rust with bleach and water. If you don't have anything else, I would. So that's why I'm recommending the a pine sol or a Simply Green product. I've used the essential oils, Thieves. I don't know if you've heard of that, Thieves. Yeah, but you want a little higher concentrate because you're disinfecting the tool. Oh, there's always a present for a tree, right? A chainsaw. With a chainsaw, you have to be flossing its teeth, or at least trying to keep it sharp. All right. So pruning is, guess what you are? You're artists. Pruning is an art. I really do enjoy pruning. I do it all winter. I'm at sort of the peak of my season right now. But it is beautiful. But we have to know some terminology. So we're going to start at the ground, at the soil. Below the soil, our roots. Then we have the graft. Most plants are now grafted plant material in a pot. From the graft, anything below the graft, coming out of the soil are suckers. Suckers, terminology. So from below the graft, out of the soil, suckers. As we go up the trunk of the tree, looking for the top, we come to this scaffold branch on the side here. We have branches inside called water sprouts. Water sprouts. We go up, we come to a union that looks like a V, not a U, but a V, V-shaped union. We have a stub. A stub in a tree is just a dead piece of wood. Dead wood. 3 Ds. Dead, disease, and damage. Dead. We have a crossing branch. Crossing branches causes problems. This is a branch I took out of a tree that I had not been before, but you can see this is what was rubbing against another branch. So you actually have 2 wounds on a tree. One that is rubbing on and this one that I took out. This is, I counted about 7 years old. So crossing branches, damages. Further up, we have scaffold branches, fruit spurs, terminal buds up top. Codominant tops. I don't know if you look up into a tree, and this is what I want you to do as you walk around, just not your own trees, but everybody's trees. Walk around, you look on the tree and you see branches that are sort of codominant next to each other. Well, that's a dangerous tree. We'll get to it again, but it needs to be dealt with because if you have 2 big branches against each other, you have potential of them one breaking because of the union. So, if there's anything that we talked about today, this I want you to take home with you. This is where you're going to be pruning the branch off. It's called the branch ridge collar. So we have a branch going off the side here. We have the ridge. We have a bit of a collar. The branch ridge collar is where the wound that you're making is going to seal that wound the fastest because there's a little edge on it. This I took off a branch. I don't know if you can see it. You can see this is a bit of a stub, and there is the branch ridge collar. Right at that point is where that branch needs to be removed off. Not back here. That would be what we call a flush cut. Right at that branch. It's a very fine line. And if you were to take your finger and rub it down the branch, you could feel it. That is where you're going to prune the branch off. That is where the sealing and the wood is going to develop the fastest. Very important. Branch ridge collar. Actually, I'll send that around. Because we're wanting wounds. I don't know if you can see it here. I'll send this also. There is some wound wood developing across this wound. There's one here, lots of wounds on here. This is what you're after, trying to seal in that wound. On a 1-inch cut on a healthy tree will probably seal in 1, maybe 2 growing seasons. Anything bigger than that, it's going to take years. And if you leave a stub like what's going around, that's going to take even longer. Because what the branch wants to do is actually get rid of that dead wood. It doesn't need the dead wood. It actually wants the dead wood on the ground so that it can actually start to become compost and start feeding itself. In order to do this, we're going to use this branch here. So this is a big branch that I took out. Oh, look at what's happening at the end there. You can see it? It's wet, so it's bleeding. Oh, it's a maple. Okay. Oh, it's from the nursery. Anyways, so this branch was attached to the tree. There's some weight out here, some leverage that's happening. If we were to go and prune off this right at the end there, we have potential for what we call a rip cut. And hopefully I can demonstrate that here. So by just cutting straight down on top here, yes, it worked. Yes, look at that. Oh, you can see that. See that rip. There, look at that. It's, oh, did I, look at, what a great rip. So what have you created? A bigger wound. And this wound could sometimes go right down the trunk of the tree. Oh, wait a second, I've done that. So yes, it does happen. So how do we take care of this a better way? Undercut. So it's called a jump cut. So if this is attached to the tree, you come and you undercut a little bit. You first cut there, maybe in about a third, and then you go ahead of that cut, just in front of it, and you cut. And what should it do? Oh no! I've done that too. It's supposed to just fall off. So it's something, by getting rid of the weight of that branch, you avoid the big wounds down the side of the branch, especially for large limbs. First cut is just back a little bit, maybe about 6, 8 inches to a foot out from the trunk of the tree. And then the next one is just above that cut. And then the last one is at the branch ridge collar, right on. Take that home. Inside the tree, you can see all the branch ridge collars. Right from the very beginning, the branch ridge collars developed and is supporting that branch. So we have the branches before, you can see the branch ridge collar. We have pruning at the branch ridge collar, and then you can actually see the little bit of bump, very fine bump on the branch. Some trees are very distinct, others are not. So taking at the branch ridge collar is where the sealing is going to happen the best, the fastest. Taking the branch, what we call a flush cut, actually makes a large wound, and if you leave it too long, it becomes a dead stub. Now, if you have to, go long. Don't go short. Don't go to a flush cut. Leave it a little long, and the branch, it will start to die, and it will start to form where the branch ridge collar is. So in that same season, because you're going to go back to that tree in that next season, and you're going to look and see, and you're going to prune it back to that branch ridge collar. Not the best idea. It's better to train your eye so that you can see where that branch ridge collar is, and just do it all in one cut. Here's a very distinct branch ridge collar. Little stub, it's forming. Here's another little stub there it's forming. Maples. Oh, I like pruning maples. Look at that. You can see it. So easy. And pruned off. So it's slight angle. Very slight angle. Maybe 30, 45 degree angle. Here we have almost perfect cut. Perfect cut is a perfect circle, perfect donut. A hole in the middle. This is a flush cut. It's very big and wide. You can read, I read this one. You can see how it's disformed, top and bottom. It's a little dent in. So they've taken a bit too much off. A flush cut, big wound, allows more disease and insects to get in. This is where your woodpeckers like to get into because they're big and wide and they can, start making their holes in there. Whereas with the branch ridge collar, the wound is a little smaller and it seals over faster. And yes, no wound dressing is needed. The tree has its own mechanism. It will take care of itself. It looks good, but it does not work. It actually sometimes seals in disease. Flush cut. Ooh, that's a big one, isn't it? Not good. All right, pruning tips. How to prune. Let's use this. Let's use this. So, when we're out and we're going to make a cut, especially above a bud, let's go here. So, we can go just above the bud, so very much, or we can go long, and what do we create? A stub. So this little piece has no energy going to it. It's just going to die back. Or we can go right at it and you actually take out the bud. So carefully where you prune. All right? Very precision cutting. You can't do that with loppers. You can do that with your sucketeers and with a handsaw. You can get so much closer. But with especially when you're doing this type of work, and the best thing with pruning, you have to practice. Just like anything else, practice. Another little one here. Yep, just above the bud, especially on this too much angle, too close, and too long. So here we have this branch. It is, if I was to prune this all off, I have this branch that's going to go up. But if I prune this back here, no, if I prune this one here, it's okay. I'm trying to find one that works. Oh, look at here, we got some damage. So that damage just goes. Oh, here's a good one. That was that branch there. So we have this bud that goes up, this bud goes down. So we want, most of the time, outward and downward, especially on fruit trees, outward and downward. And if we take this one, it goes, oh, it goes up, right? So outward and downward, always looking for those buds because they'll be all along that. Oh, here we go. You can see all the buds along the branch here. Yeah, you can choose any one of those. You can choose this one, and that branch when the bud breaks in the spring, it's going to start developing a new branch, and it's going to grow out that way. So I'll do it that way. If I chose this one, it would go possibly inward. We don't want that. We want outward and downward. Be it fruit tree or ornamental, always looking for that. Pruning technique. So there's pinching, heading, and thinning. And most of our pruning is going to be with a thinning cut, taking out a whole branch. But sometimes, and it's usually the exception to the rule, you're going to pinch and head. So pinching is very tip of the branch, very tip. It takes off that growth that's going forward, upwards, and it's actually going to stop the branch from lengthening. It's going to create a little more bushy plant. Heading is more or less you're just taking, and that's what hedges do. You go and you head everything off. It's not the best thing to do. Most of the time it's indiscriminate. You're leaving stubs. You're taking off all that growth that's going straight up. So just take it and you just get a mess. And do not top trees. Topping trees creates a mess. Creates all kinds of water sprout growth. You can see here, this was topped here. This is a heading cut. And all this water sprout growth occurred because of topping. And then you just get bigger as the branches grow. The branches get bigger and bigger. These branches are attachments. They're not a part of the tree. Like this branch is a part of this. As soon as you go and you head it, you get water sprout growth. Be it a fruit tree or an ornamental, same thing happens. You don't want that.
What's the alternative?
Thinning. Taking out, if the tree is too big, remove it and start over again. This is a mess, right? This is a willow tree that's been topped, and you see all that water sprout growth. Those are all attachments. Now, I don't want to show these horror pictures, but somebody's this is not pruning, and it's not butchering, because a butcher is a tradesman. This is mutilation. That's harsh, but that's what it is. Someone has mutilated this tree. Even the little ones, little crabapple. So thinning is taking off whole branches, not just part branches. So thinning, so I'm going to try and keep this branch by taking off this whole water sprout back to here. Look at that. I'm opening it up. I could keep this one down here by thinning this branch back in here. All right, look at this. Nope. Maybe that's year one. Year two, I want to continue this branch growing out this way. I could take this one out. That's year two. Pruning is something that you don't do all at once. It's something that you do over 3, 5, 10, 20 years. It's a process. You do it too much, you get all that. There it is. You get water sprout growth. So you can see where this cut was made. This branch was removed. The nutrients were coming up, looking for this branch, and it threw all this energy into all this water sprout growth. So again, the process is yearly. This is 1 year. And maybe the second year, you may go and you might want to head this one back a bit. Allow the branches, these buds, to break and start developing into whole new branches. That's year two. Year three, you might come back here and take out something over here. Process takes time to fix something that was damaged. So you can see where this cut was made right here. The energy came up looking for that branch, which is out here, but it threw into the bud that was on top here and the bud that was below. So you can go and you take off this one because you're going to continue developing that branch, be it ornamental or fruit tree, because they both react the same. And now you've got this branch growing here. The next year, you're going to maybe go out to the tip here. This branch is developed, and maybe this branch has, the next year, has grown. Something like this. Hard to do. Here we go. You have this bud breaking, and this branch is the second year. So you're going to prune that back a little bit, maybe. And then the third year, because that branch is growing over here. So you're always adding on, and you're always thinking 5 years, 5 years down the road, not thinking today. Because if you think today, you get this. You get this, all this water sprout growth. And how do you fix this? Well, yeah, and start over again. It takes years, but you probably have 3 or 4 of these all in an area. Count 3, take 1. The next year, you count 3 and take 1. Like, again, it's a process that takes time. Fruit trees, you want those laterals because you want a fruit tree especially low, easy to prune, easy to pick. So some branches, can be 15 feet out, but then you start thinking about, okay, I need to push it back, and that's where you start thinking about thinning out that branch to push it back. But that's not what you do every year. It's something that you're thinking 5 years, oh, I see that branch. How can I do that so I don't get the water sprout growth? You'll get some, but you won't get as much. Ornamentals, about the same, but they actually are usually a much stronger tree. Know what you're buying. Decide the species and what it's going to do. So buying a oak tree, it's going to be a 70, 80 footer in, but if you buy a muckle plum, that's a great tree because it only tops out, it wants to be mature size at about 15, 17 feet. So if that's what you want, or do you want something that's narrow and upright? Knowing what you go to buy is very important. So this is just a quick, when you planted the tree, it looks like this. As it grows, you get some suckering, you get some broken branches. This is not touching the tree. So it looks unkept. There's things that are wrong in it you need to be careful of. Thinning. This is too much thinning. This is called lion's tailing because the branches are all at the end. This is not pruned, nicely thinned tree, allowing light to go through and have that dappling look on the soil, on the grass. This is trying to raise it. If you raise it for vehicles or for pedestrians, the right spacing. Too high of a canopy is a lollipop. So you get this little top that is not strong because you haven't left any branches below. Here is, I don't know if you can see this, there's a branch here, a V-shaped union. That union is weak, has potential of breaking. Best thing to do would be to remove it. You want strong structure in a tree. This is a beautiful structure. Look at the structures in this young tree. Young tree pruning develops structure. Water sprouts are fast growth. Removing them, they will break. When you go and you rub off those little ones, they break at the branch ridge collar. It's amazing. If they don't break in your hand, well, then you take your sucketeers looking for that branch ridge collar. We probably see a lot of this. This is very old style. This is what Okanagan, this is what we call the Okanagan weep, right? And all they have is just full of water sprouts. Well, that tree is that design. That tree is what you have to do to it until you decide to remove it and start over again, because there's other options. So here is an alternative. This is a pear tree. full of water sprout growth. Completely. All the water sprouts were taken off. I did this. Pear tree, because pears are a little more aggressive. It's called layering. Layers. You can see those layers. This tree was about 8 feet wide and just under 10 feet tall. Produced 400 pounds of pears through layering, a process that took us about 10 years to develop. It's a 360. It's more like an espalier, but it's 360. Layering. You can layer. You have to layer with pushing some weights on the tips or branches, crutches in the unions. Or in our household, if you can see it, oh, this is my backyard. A little sock full of rocks to bring that branch down. Put some weights in the bottom and look at how that weight is being brought down and it's layered out. And then you start heading and filling. It's a piece of artwork. Takes your time. It takes time. Or you get into this cherry tree. This is a layered cherry tree. Doesn't work for ornamentals. It works for fruit trees because you want the tree low enough to be able to pick the fruit, easy to prune. There is a process to pruning. Take the time to assess and reassess as you are pruning. Step back, take a look, determine its natural shape, especially in ornamentals. So know your species, know what you have. And then you start with the 3Ds, dead, disease, and damage. Make as few cuts as possible. The tree doesn't want a whole lot off because the more you take off, the more water sprout growth you're going to get. So you're looking at, 10 to 15% pruning, be it fruit tree or ornamental. A lot of people say, well, take off a third. Well, if you're trying to restore, it's count 3, take 1. So that's about a third. So you have to know your species and what you're looking at. Take your time. Look, it's a process, 3 to 5 years. Crisscross, the crossers, or distortion ones that are crossing, you need to be thinking about. Rubbing ones. Branch angles. Look at the branch angles. You don't want those V's. You want more U angles. And direct the growth. Outward and downward. So, deadwood. Looking for deadwood. Stubs. Big stubs. Broken branches up inside. These are the unions. You want a U union, not a V union. Because what's happening is, as the branches grow, especially on a V, they're growing against each other. And as that trunk gets bigger, it's actually pushing against the other one and has potential of pushing one off. So V unions are very weak unions. The best way to do with a V is to eliminate one side, choosing it. There is no branch ridge collar there, and it's usually a branch on the ridge right through there. Again, you're looking for that ridge that would seal over the wound. All right, general guidelines, summer flowering shrubs. A third out, third back, so that's a third. That's where you're going to be thinning out whole branches. Again, know your species. There's some things that are different. Hedges, the best time to be doing a cedar hedge is September. After its new growth has happened. If you do it now, what's going to happen in May? You're just going to get new growth. So if you do it all in September, that growth is good from September right through till May again. Unless you like to work and do it twice. Vines, a whole different process for different species. Like clematis is, there's actually 3 groups of clematis. Some you cut to the ground, some you do half. So I'm going to push that to the shrub class. Evergreens, pines, spruce, Douglas fir, taking off the new growth. And it's a very short window, about 10 days of pruning on evergreens. And you're not taking the whole thing off. You're taking about a little less than half off. And you're using this tool here to pinch the branch. Very narrow window in Kamloops. And you're probably looking about the second, maybe the first week of May. Apples and pears, flowers and fruits on second year wood. So this is apple tree. So this is 1 year. This is last year's growth. This is 2 years from there to there. So it should be flowering on this growth here. Not this growth, but this growth. Pears react the same way. The third, 1 year growth, those are water sprout growth. You could be taking a third out, but I want to push down to 10 to 15%. There's some damage. Where's my? There it is. There. And if you look inside here, there's a little bit of a stub right in there. Clean that up. I'm gonna thin this out. Oh, this is crossing over here. Do I want to keep this one or take this one? So you can see where this was taken off and growth that way. So I take off that. That's almost all I did that's all I do in 1 year. Next year again, I'm gonna go find that bud that's gonna go outward. And it's here. Look at that. Open. Really, this is the branch that I'm looking for when I'm looking for a fruit tree. And this one back here, as you see, it's crossing back in here. Look at that. Wow. And this one, this is a little water sprout. I can push it back to that bud right there. And I'm going to get this bud here to start growing and start filling this space. So that is 1, 2, 3 years away before I'm developing that. Thinning cuts, always thinning cuts. This is a apple tree that's been developed into a more or less this is a combination ornamental fruit tree. They're sort of wanting the whole thing, but they still want the fruit. So, you're trying to play with it. This is a pear tree, old. You can see the power line above it. And unfortunately, the power line people have their ideas of how they prune. Same with cherries. Second year wood is when you'll get your fruit on it. And there are spurs on it also. There we go. There is a picture of, this is a fruit spur on a cherry. Peach trees. Peach trees are the exception to the rules. Just like your exceptions, because you've come. Peach trees are the exceptions. They fruit on 1 year wood. So you're always thinking next year for this. They don't have any spurs. You could take up to 75% of that tree and it will develop new growth. And that new growth is what you're going to head back to develop into next year's fruit. Heading back every branch of a peach tree and the nectarine, they react the same. Small fruits, I don't know if we're going to cover grapes. Grapes produce fruit on this year's growth. So you can cut back to 95% of that and it will come back and give you fruit that year. Right? Exceptions to the rule. Topiary. Do you remember what topiary is? Shapes and forms and balls. Espalier is a flat form. Espalier up against the house. Or an espalier against the fence. Espalier is actually a beautiful artwork. There's somebody on Chalet out in Tranquille. Their fence line is an espalier hedge of apple trees and pear trees. And it's only this tall, but it's beautiful. Bonsai, plant in a pot. A lot of people say, oh, you've bonsai'd the plant. No, I've topiary. I've made balls and that. So, remember, make sure there's a good reason for why you're pruning. It isn't a piece of art. Enjoy it as you go. But if you need to, ask for help. We've covered the whys, whens, and hows. So, you're able to go from here. Remember, 3 Ds, dead, disease, and damage, always. And always take your time to step back, take a look, and enjoy what you've done. Because it is a piece of artwork. Thank you for coming. Thank you.